We ready to roll?
Any word on Nate Hobbs in terms of his availability?
No, I don't think Nate will make it. He's working his butt off to get back as soon as possible. Getting closer, better every day. But I don't believe we'll see him out there today. And I'm not ruling him out totally, but he's pushing as hard as he can. We'll see. Devontae will be out there today.
As with Nate, is there any, long-term concern there, or do you think maybe potentially if he doesn't play this week, he can come back next week?
I'm not overly, like I said, he's getting close. Or I don't want to, I'm not a doctor, but getting closer, better.
And what did you think of? I know Amik. I think it looked like Amik Robertson kind of stepped in and nickel.
Yep.
Last game. How did you think?
Yep. Amik's learned a lot of roles, because he plays he's backing up a lot of different spots and all the rest of it, which is not easy to do. Went in there and he did, aggressive, tackled, covered, I have a lot of confidence in Amik. I think our team does too. So, we'll see how it all shakes out relative to that whole, the role he'll end up fitting in this week and the things we may need from him. But he's always ready to go and went in and did his job.
Long also played pretty well in that game. What are your thoughts on?
Yeah, David's pro, and good cover guy, smart. We moved him inside some and played him in a little bit of a dime role last week, which was good. You end up with four corners on the field sometimes, and now you're covering with corners, and thought David did a good job of competing in coverage, and it's what he's done since we've had him here. So no, just pleased with what he's done.
What kind of a lift does getting Jimmy back give you guys?
Obviously when you get your starting quarterback back, I think that's, the whole team feels it. But I thought our team responded the right way in terms of who's practicing and all the rest of it last week. I don't think they treated it any differently. I think they respect everybody else. Aiden and Brian were both preparing hard to be ready to go, and thought they handled that the right way. But I think anytime your starting quarterback comes back from something like that, I think, you feel that difference. He's earned that.
Speaking of aggression, Jacorian Bennett, he's been a player that's pretty physical and aggressive in how he plays, and it's kind of sometimes he's given up some plays or had some pass interference penalties. Is this sort of a process with him in terms of learning how to figure out how to be aggressive?
Yeah, there's again, I think with the young players, they're tested a little differently in the NFL maybe than they were in college. But Jacorian was around the ball a lot at Maryland and got his hands on a lot of footballs there. And in order to do that, you got to be in tight coverage. You know what I mean? So, he's been a sticky guy, since we got him. And I think there's just an element of learning, what gets called, what doesn't get called. Different receivers run routes differently. They play the ball differently when it's in the air. And you just, those are little refined techniques that take time to, really get good at. And JB works really hard in practice at it. He's a young kid with a bright future.
Go ahead.
You look at tape, Rashawn Gary's kind of the disruptor for the Packers defense. What do you think makes him good when you watch him on tape, and how much pride do you think that Colton and Jermaine take in facing guys like that?
Yeah, there's a lot of disruptive guys on their defense. Rashawn's, he's got a great motor, great play style, very physical. Can win with speed or power. He's every time I turn the film on, it's like there's another rush move or another way to get to the quarterback or a way to disrupt the running game. Very physical player. Very impressed with him. Again, they got a lot of guys that I would say in that category on the edge that do it the right way. Physical, good length. Can rush with speed or power. I think our tackles. Every week in this league is the same. It's just who is it? What's their name? Khalil Mack. Is it Joey Bosa? Is it TJ Watt? Is it, there's the list goes on and on. So this is another real big test for us on the edge. Got to do a good job of really standing up to these guys, and they'll play them all. There's just not just going to be one or two of them in there. So a lot of different faces that our guys are getting comfortable and getting used to as we watch tape this week, because I think you got to understand the differences in terms of how they play.
What's the type of process when you make in-game adjustments? Is it a feel thing? Is it a halftime thing? Is it just how do you go about that?
Yeah, it depends, like how big of one you're talking about. I think if you're getting played radically different than what you anticipated, there's really no feel about it. You just you better do it. You know what I mean? In terms of what you expected, coverage, front, whatever, pressure. If all of a sudden they're doing a lot more, if the offense on the other side is doing something that our defense didn't necessarily expect or haven't seen from them, you don't have time to wait for halftime. You got to get over there to the sideline and make a decision first on what you feel like is best to do, and then try to go ahead and communicate it to your group so that you could go ahead and hopefully handle it the right way the next time out there. I think there's definitely a feel element of if it's not a schematic issue, but your team needs something a little bit different, stagnant or what have you, not enough of this to create momentum, then I think maybe you just, there's a feel element to that, Q, where you just, make a decision and a choice and say, hey, we're going to do this, whether that's no huddle or we're going to throw it more, run it more. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. I think you just have to look at what you're doing well, and then try to make a decision. But I've never really felt like you have to wait for something, because if you wait for some specific meeting that you have, sometimes it's too long, and it's too late. So try to make them as best we can, as quickly as possible. Halftime is always an opportunity to have a productive meeting. And just kind of restart yourself for the next half and decide what you want to do and explain to the guys where we're at in the game, what's happened so far, and then how we want to start on every phase of the unit that they're on. So every game's different, which is the fun of football.
Is Aiden won the number 2 job for quarterback?
No, we're not. They're both practicing. Again, same thing. I don't think we're ever going to say that, Vic. I just think it's, as I've said before, I think there's roles for everybody, and when young players have a lot of repetitions, I think it's a lot easier for them to go in there and be competitive and do their job the right way. When there's very few or a lot less, I think you just got to make smart decisions and put your team in the right spot, as best you can.
What more do you need to see out of Tyree at this stage, John?
I think there's improvement every week, no question. It was a little, there was the very beginning, we were a little slow off the ball, and there was a delay there. I think he's really worked hard at that. I think he's getting much more comfortable, I'd say, with everything that he's doing. Now he's practicing at full pace, full tempo, full speed. He's taking a normal amount of practice repetitions. It's not a tapered in kind of thing. So I think that's a big thing also. Certainly, I think what everybody's, hoping, waiting, excited to see at some point are maybe some more impactful plays. You hit the quarterback, you sack the quarterback, you create some turnovers, which I think those will come in time. I mean, he's obviously a disruptive kind of a guy, but thought he made some really good plays last week, at the line of scrimmage. I thought he was really physical. He's starting to use his length and understand how he needs to play different pass protectors. But his role is being able to expand because he's able to practice longer, harder, at the right tempo. So we knew this would be a little bit of a process because there was such a delay in him starting. But I think now that his wind and his conditioning is improving, I think you just keep going, and hopefully the disruptive plays and the real negative plays start to happen as well.
I think you mentioned his get off. That was something that he's talked about a couple of times. What goes into improving that? Is it just a film study thing or a field thing?
No, I think you got to, sometimes guys might have used it's honestly, it's no different with offensive linemen when they go to a silent cadence, in the NFL. There's got to be an ability to kind of feel the football move and go, or you got to stare in at it and trust that, what's in front of you, isn't going to necessarily change dramatically, and then you got to, be able to get your head and eyes up to the man. So just, you know, he's got to see the ball. You know what I mean? Obviously, all defensive linemen, that's what they go off of. So it's not a noise thing. It's not a cadence thing. You can't afford to do that in our league because the quarterbacks change it too much. So I think he's learned from that and improved that and needs to continue to do that. But the defensive linemen work on it every day. I think it's just different when you get into a game and you feel it for the first time.
Good. All right.
Good to go? Okay, thank you.